Good evening and welcome back to BBC Nine's longest running and perhaps most popular radio series, Blast from the Past, presented by Frankie Paradiso, the last Amsterdam bard on Java in Indonesia. Today it's time for a bit of nostalgia, Brain of Britain, and starring none other than King Richard III. By a stroke of incredible luck, the brains and speech organs of King Richard III have remained miraculously intact, having been buried in a shallow grave underneath a car park where the lollipops and chewing gum that Leicester teenagers tend to throw out of their windows have accumulated and transmogrified into a cohesive substance that, sealed by Bazooka Joe comic strips and Cadbury wrappers, with the aid of a speech synthesizer and other advanced gadgets borrowed from Sir Roger Moore, today's candidate for Brain of Britain 2016 will be able to answer the following questions to become the first posthumous finalist within living memory, having been killed at the Battle of Bosworth. Are you ready for the quiz, Your Royal Highness? Ready when thou art, my good man. Alright then, without any further ado, here's the very first question, Your Majesty. Thomas More's The History of Richard III, i.e. of you, strongly influenced Shakespeare's historical drama, describing how the killers entered the bedchamber of the young princes Edward and Richard and, I quote, kept down by force the feather bed and pillows hard unto their mouths, till they were stifled, unquote. Is that an accurate description as far as you can recall? Far from it. As a matter of fact, I paid the lads a visit to raise their spirits by telling them a few jokes and by tickling their ribs. Instead of being stifled by anyone, they were endeavouring to hold their laughter. It's called corpsing by court jesters. The boys vanished mysteriously, but both were alive and well when I entertained them. Alright, question number 2. Could you please recite your opening soliloquy, written by Shakespeare, if you don't face an old king every day, and tell us what he refers to in the final sentence of the first part, from now until lute. But please recite the whole soliloquy, Your Majesty, starting now. Thank you. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barded steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I, that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I, that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun, and descant on mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate, the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy, which says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. That was very impressive. Touch of Sir Laurence Olivier there. Could you answer the question about he, the one I mentioned? Of course I can. Methinks he must refer to grim-visaged war. By the way, Shakespeare was merely a pen name for Sir Francis Bacon, the love child of Queen Elizabeth I. So as a tutor, he should have become king, and a most brilliant one at that. Apollo and Pallas Athena were the Greek deities that were forevermore shaking their spears at the ignorance around them. Their initials AA are printed on many pages of Shake-Spears sonnets. His busy schedule as a philosopher, spy, and avid royal tennis player made him rely on the literary talent of Sir Edward de Vere, incidentally. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Third question, here in Brain of Britain, is which contemporary lady did you loathe? Without a shadow of doubt, Henry Tudor's terrible martyr, Margaret Beaufort. The very image of her in paintings makes me so livid that I will leave or let the matter rest by calling her quaint. A word that can be traced to Old Norse, kunta, and for good reason. Right, last but one, the penultimate question, number 4, is who was Perkin Warbeck, an impostor or the real pretender to the throne? It's been puzzling us for, centuries. He was the good-looking, princely, Flemish-speaking upstart who fooled even Maximilian I. He played the lute very well, and he made excellent baked potatoes. Fried potatoes, if I remember correctly, and he called them pommes frites. So he was tolerated for a while, until he was executed, of course. Alright, number 5, final question here in Brain of Britain, our time is limited. What was Thomas More's worst insult in his biography of Your Majesty? That's a piece of cake. You shouldn't have talked about my hair. The bastard described it as having been spitefully torn and tugged like a cur dog. Could you imagine? Alright, that wraps up Brain of Britain. 5 out of 5 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 10 is 100% score. Really excellent. I mean, considering the condition you must be in, having been buried for centuries, that particular spot in Leicester. The reburial will take place at the cathedral, and perhaps the 2 princes or mysterious corpses that were found in the tower will be added to your grave. We wish you all the best. It must be quite a transition, and before that perhaps you can use the money. It's like £500,000 or euro. You may go to a money changer and spend the money well in the many pubs named after you. So Richard III, a big hand of applause, everybody, for this wonderful score, 100% in Brain of Britain 2016. Thank you for listening and have a pleasant evening.